Welcome to Jennifer Domal Studios. I was asked to do a video explaining how to use templates. They are helpful if you want to do crisp geometry. Like if you want to do starbursts, they help. If you want to do circles, if you want to do honeycomb, if you want to do triangles of a certain shape, if you want to do tumbling blocks and don't really want to do the math. There's all kinds of reasons why templates are the answer, and it's not cheating. Get that out of your mind right now. They are tools, and they are tools to be used, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's not tracing. It takes a lot of skill to use a template properly. Architects use them. So, no one would ever accuse an architect of cheating by using templates. They definitely help you get the job done with efficiency and without having to do a lot of complicated math. Now, some people don't use them because they have learned the math over time. They've learned how to do things. And so they may not have a need to do them, and that comes with practice. And that's okay. It's perfectly fine. If you can draw a beautiful triangle without a template, great. One is not better than the other. So if you want to use the templates, that's perfectly fine. If you don't want to use the templates, it's great too. They're there for whoever needs them. Be prepared in your workspace. I have this great pillow that is no longer available, sadly, because mine is wearing out. If you find them or you can make them, please let me know, because mine is wearing out. It holds the egg securely. If you don't have something like this, get a towel that's nice and plush. Fold it so that you have a surface that will hug the egg. You can also use a Ziploc bag that is filled with rice and is then covered with a thin cloth or a towel like a fleece, and that will hold the egg, because you don't want to be holding the egg while you're then holding a template and a pencil to write on the egg. You will need another set of hands. This needs to be snug enough to hold that so it doesn't end up on the table and that you don't get a headache. This is an egg that has some bits and bobs on it that's kind of rough, so I am just going to quickly sketch, and I've had a cup of coffee and a Pepsi, so my lines are going to be a little jacked up. But we don't care, because this is really educational, getting this done. This is not for beauty. This is for learning. And I'm not going to use this egg anyway. See that little... Yeah, it's not a beautiful. This is going to be one of those scrap eggs where you test your ideas and see if they work. First, I'm going to do here. Maybe you say, "Oh, I want to know, can I do a snowflake? Can I do a starburst?" Okay, so a great place to try is right there in the front. Now you see what I mean? How it's easier to have it like this. Now, this was see how this is one big sheet? One big sheet. This was part of a big sheet. It was easier for me to cut it in strips so that I can manipulate it on the egg. If that's not your style, don't do it. But, you bought the template. You can cut it however you want. If you want to cut it into individual pieces, but I thought I would lose them that way. Curve it with your fingers to hold it. Now, I go ahead and I mark where the register marks are so that I know that my lines are the correct lines. Now, notice, wobbly as my lines are, they were still in the right spot. That is okay. So there we go. That is my circle. Now, this template does not mark the diagonals. Doesn't mark the 45s, doesn't mark the 60s. Now, Ukrainian Gift Shop has an incredible set of 16 templates that range from 1/2 inch all the way up to 4 7/8 inch, like you would use for an ostrich egg. Look at how massive that is. That's incredible. And you can see it's clean. I don't know. I like triangles. I hardly ever do circles. I should really use these. This would be fun to do. But what's special about this is that they mark the 60 degrees and the 40 degrees. This 90 by 60, all that means is if you are doing 45-degree angles, you would also use the 90 and the 90 and the 90 and the 90. If you're doing 45s, you're probably going to do the 90. Now, if you're doing 60, like you would use for a snowflake, for example, 60, 60, 60, 60, 60, 60, okay? You're not going to do any of the 45s and the 90s, just the 60s. That's the little bit of the shortcut. That helps to explain. I didn't understand it when I first saw that. That was so confusing to me. So I have this here. I'm going to grab this 1 1/3 inch so that I can get my 45-degree. And if I go too fast, please send me a message or a comment or replay it and see what I do. Okay, so that's great for doing your arms, right? But how are you going to make sure, and these hash marks I'm doing is just for the points of the arms, how are you going to make sure that they all center up? Well, you can do this. Use another template in the center, right? And then, now you don't wax these circles. You just wax the arms. Meaning you don't wax this. This doesn't get waxed. Where I'm putting the X's, that doesn't get waxed. I mean, if you were making a halo or something, I suppose you could. You don't wax that. Unless you wanted to. Like if you're making that a design. Say you're making that part of your design. Maybe you're making that like a sunflower. If you're making it like a sunflower. Maybe you're making that like that. Then sure, you could make that. But this doesn't get waxed. Not unless you wanted to. Okay? Maybe you want to go like that. Now, say you want to put a design here. How do I find the center? Oh, where's my piece of paper? It is. How do I find the center? Well, we talked about this in a previous, but we're going to do it again. I could eyeball it, or could use my piece of paper. Fold it in half to the mark. Fold it in half to the mark. Okay, so now when you're putting it here, all this means is this is the center of this quadrant. You don't necessarily have to make that the center of the circle. Like you don't have to line it up like that where this register mark goes there. You make it the center of the circle. So I can make a line like this. You see? So these diagonal lines are the 45-degree angles. Does that make sense? So I have the 45-degree, the 90-degree. Maybe I'll make more sense with this. This one's a little off. Okay. All right. And then, of course, you want to make, let's see. And, of course, you make it however you like. If you want it to be bigger, you make it bigger. I don't know what you're making. What are you making? Are you making a flower? Are you making a sunburst? Are you making concentric rings? Are you doing something abstract? I don't know what we're making. That would actually be pretty cool. It kind of looks like a jellyfish. Anyway, you can do that. Now, if you wanted to do it this way, you're doing a starburst on the point of the egg. That gets a little bit more interesting because we have to make sure that it's not tilted. Unless you want it tilted. See how that could be tilted? You want it to be level. You want it to be level. I find that to be really challenging. That's me. I find it much easier to measure. But I know there are people who are able to do it this way. I've never been very successful doing that, so I'm not the best person to demonstrate that. But I know there's a lot of people who are able to do that. I think there's easier ways than that. If you're able to do it that way, more power to you. But I've never been successful that way. I find it easier to go that way. But that's just me. Okay, so then there's the hexagons. So say you wanted to make honeycomb. There's a way of drawing honeycombs that's math-based, but if you wanted to draw hexagons to make a bee design that is honeycombs, go ahead and do it. Why not? What's stopping you? Why wouldn't you? Do it. If you want to do tumbling blocks, and you want to use this as a help, you have to see how many fit. You do need to use a tiny bit of math. And then this will help you build it. But that would be a whole nother video. But you can definitely use templates to make the tumbling block design. So that is how you use templates to build your design. I would say first, go ahead and just use pencil to mess around. If you want to just use an egg, and then you can erase it with a Q-tip dipped in vinegar, and you can erase and then pat it dry, let it dry completely, and start again and just have that be your mess around egg. This will be my mess around egg because it has that. If you have any questions, send me a message. Thank you. Good luck.